for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Back on this rap-ish, I ain't even broke a sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list, hope I ain't missing my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own, tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu, and I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody's south of Capitol Hill's rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and plan to getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me? I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
That Dre season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my old flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your panty line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on to the hearse. Party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete. I'm a verbal athlete, deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building. My whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host, Trey Holiday. Want to extend a warm welcome Wednesday. You like that triple W for you today on this amazing Wednesday. Got a great show for you. And of course, we do this as a team. Got to bring in my teammate right here, Big O. What up, Big O?
All right, Trey Holiday. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm okay. Another day. Another dollar, maybe.
There you go.
No, we got a great show lined up for everybody here today on the Morning Update Show. We're going to be joined first off by Brian Callanan of the Seattle Channel, Seattle News, also Seattle News, Views, and Brews. You can see that here tonight, 7 o'clock on Converge. He's going to join us. Then we're going to be joined by the director, Derrick Wheeler-Smith, Director, Office for Civil Rights here in the city of Seattle. And we're going to round out the show with a check-in from Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
Yeah, full show today. Once again, these Wednesdays be packed. I love it.
Yeah, no, the week always picks up here in the middle of the week. All right, let's get it going. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I want to remind you that right now is the perfect time to tag and share the stream. You could do that too, Derrick. Tag and share this stream right here with people who you feel would appreciate culturally relevant news and information emanating from right here in the Emerald City. Want to give a big shout out to our partners over at KBCS 91.3 at Bellevue College and the South Seattle Emerald. You can listen to the Morning Update Show anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. We got SoundCloud right there, but you can also check us on Google, Spotify, iTunes. All you got to do is search Converge Media Network. And all of our shows are on there. Everything we do, we have a podcast version as well. We create a lot of media, by the way. It's a lot of stuff out there. Pointing the show right here. Salman's got a link in the comments. This is hereforuswa.org. Hereforuswa.org. This is an online resource primarily targeting people in our community who are vaccine hesitant, but then there's also resources there if you want to get vaccinated, if you need a booster shot, looking for testing, everything else. This is a real interesting time, Trey Holiday, as in just 3 days, the masks are out, the vaccination card's no longer required by government. So it's a changing time, especially how people are thinking about the vaccine in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a lot of information to try to decipher for everybody. So I love that hereforuswa.org has said, look, we're going to try to make it very simple. We want you guys to have one spot for all resources. And also let's make some, communications that are really speaking to those in the community that are still hesitant. We understand it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, me personally, Trey Holiday, I walk to the studio every day. So I wasn't impacted by the traffic, but the people up there on 4th Avenue were impacted. Seattle Police Department closed down the street right across from City Hall. Looks like they were doing some sweeping today. I know that isn't the term that the city likes to use, is sweep, but yeah, I mean, I didn't get all in the mix, as they say. Sometimes we've covered some of these sweeps before. Even well before protests in our community, right over there on Rainier.
Yeah,
covered some sweeps, and anyways, they're I believe they're probably done clearing it out right now. 4th Avenue, right across from City Hall.
Yeah, I experienced this traffic jam a bit on my way into the studio today, and definitely, they had officers out there redirecting traffic. They had the street shut down as they were doing these sweeps. And you're right. Oh, we've been covering things like this since, Chinatown ID over there. There was sweeps there. And honestly, talking to the people, being able to get out there at that time, it's clear that, these are their belongings. This is, a lot of them have said, look, these are things that I've been collecting for a long time. I've been trying to, figure out my way out here. And so I always hope that there's a more, compassionate way to go about this kind of thing when it comes from the city. It's just one of those hard things sometimes to witness. So
right. And so on this particular sweep, even though it's just a few blocks away, like I said, I heard that they were going to be sweeping, but I didn't see the documents around it and all these kind of things. And I don't know what resources are offered there. Ever since they got rid of navigation team and a few other things, I'm not really sure how SPD goes around, with these sweeps. It's always hard to watch, though, no matter what. Every day, as an everyday citizen, you sit and you watch those sweeps. But we've seen more and more, more and more of, I guess you would just say sweeps. And then walking past 3rd and Pike, and it's real interesting that it's weird. It changes by the hour sometimes. So sometimes you see police down there on bikes and they're moving around and this and that. And then sometimes you just see it's cracking down there. You know what I'm saying? So it's real interesting.
Well, I think that this is also something that our regional homelessness authority is really going to have to take into account, right? I mean, not only are they trying to make sure that resources are out there for people, but a heavy part of what they really want to do is be talking to the people, centering the voices of our unhoused population, and being sure that the resources are meeting the needs, meeting the demands that are necessary out there. Because honestly, there's a lot of reasons. We've talked about this before. A lot of reasons that people find themselves unhoused here in the city of Seattle in particular, with rising cost of living. So, this is something to stay on. Oh,
yeah, no, well, it's right around the corner. We'll definitely stay on it. All right. So the mayor of your town, we got an overlay over here, Jim Ferrell. We saw this coming. Jim Ferrell announced he's running for King County Prosecutor. We got a link right there. This is by Elizabeth Turnbull over Capitol Hill Seattle blog. We'll put the link in there. You can read all about Jim Ferrell and a bit of a different approach. Now, we had Stephen Thomas here not too long ago, and I think that as this race proceeds, we're going to see there's a big gap in ideology and some everything else. Ferrell's got support, though. I mean, he's got support amongst these municipalities, the smaller municipalities outside the city of Seattle, and I'm sure he's probably got some support here in the city. But this is going to be an interesting race, Trey Holiday, for King County Prosecutor.
You've been saying it from the beginning, honestly. Oh, I mean, I think you knew it and really called it early on. This is interesting to see that, you know, Mayor Ferrell is now putting his hat in the race for King County Prosecutor. And you're right. Already, I think some of the things that Black residents have talked about in Federal Way in particular is, you know, Ferrell's approach to policing and understanding the needs of community. And sometimes there's been a disconnect there. So it's going to be interesting to see how he maybe listens more to the people or how he takes a certain approach in the prosecutor's office if he's given that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm gonna just call it right now. Well, I'm hoping I'm not right on this, but I got a feeling that like when TV commercials really start coming out and all this, it's gonna get ugly. This prosecutor race, because man, it's just dueling ideologies and really demographics and yeah.
That's the part of it that I just can't stand. Why does it have to go there every time? It's like, you know, honestly, if you have a strong message, a strong platform for what it is you want to do, you don't really need to attack the other person. But
look how whoever did Nikita Oliver.
Yeah.
I mean, Nikita for crime. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're already an abolitionist. So like, it's like there's so many different points of Nikita's platform that they were running that someone could be like, oh, I disagree with this, I disagree with this, I disagree with that. No, that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Had to come with Nikita for crime and all this stuff. And then in that mischaracterized all the people who were out there trying to exercise their First Amendment rights and got slapped up by the SPD, you know, called them all rioters and some of everything else. And so that's why I'm saying, you know, I mean, that was foul, and we're gonna keep an eye on this race. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna see it, man. I mean, all the candidates that are running here, and I forget what's the from the prosecutor's office. What's her name? Mannion. Okay. Yeah, Lisa Mannion. All these guys, I mean, there's enough either ideas that they're for or against or whatever for somebody just to be able to run on, debate, and everything else. So we're gonna see if people can debate on ideas and all that, or if they need to come with scare tactics and everything else, because that was despicable what happened in that city council race.
Well, you're absolutely right. And to be honest, we see it all the time. I won't be surprised if it happens again. I think it's that ugly side of politics. And this is why a lot of people are like, man, I don't deal with it, man. That's just too much. It, you know, is another notch on somebody's belt. You know, they're running for a certain reason and maybe they're not really being open about it. And we see that ugly side happen toward the end of these campaigns when it gets real tight and they want to make sure that people understand what they're really fighting for and people understand what their platform is, but they always find a way to try to cut the knees off of the candidate that is opposing them just in order to make that message clear. It's unfortunate, man.
Yeah, we'll be here to call BS on it too. All right, we're going to take a quick break right now. On the other side, we have our guy, Brian Callanan. He's from the Seattle channel, but also right here, Team Converge, Seattle News, Views, and Brews. He's going to update us on a few things over in City Hall, including Operation New Day. Well, Mayor Harrell, I was there at that presser, remember, and then also the end of the legislative session down in Olympia. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear.
Hi, this is Robert Battle, Artistic Director of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and we're thrilled to be performing live on stage again. Come see the extraordinary Ailey dancers during my 10th anniversary season and enjoy some wonderful new work, plus returning audience favorites, including Revelations.
When the pandemic hit, it did affect me. As a barber, I had my own personal reasons why I didn't get vaccinated. At the time, I didn't check the actual source. I thought the vaccine was developed too fast, but I was talking to a doctor and he was telling me more about the vaccine and what it can do to protect us and our family. I wanted to get back to that once was, right? I do feel safe knowing that I am vaccinated. I just hope what I'm saying is reaching into people's heads to know that this is the best decision for all of us.
All right, you see it right there. Seattle News, Views, and Brews tonight, 7 p.m. But right now, we're going to be joined live by Brian Callanan. Brian, what's up, man?
Hey, good to be with you guys once again. Great to see you, Trey.
Yeah, you as well.
Oh, look at this. It's the booth of truth, right?
Yeah, right.
We're making it happen right here. You got it. Good to see you guys.
All right, Brian, man. As on Wednesday, and you're always joining us on Wednesday for an update of what's going on generally around here, because there's a lot, but then also we can look forward to the show tonight at 7:00.
We're covering a number of different things, and we made sure that we touched on, and I'm with my co-host David Croman on this, we made sure we touched on the search for a new Office of Police Accountability, that director there. They're searching for that. Andrew Meyerberg, as you know, stepped down in January to become the mayor's director of public safety, so they're looking for somebody to fill that role. And at the council meeting yesterday, the council was talking about this, and normally what the city does is when somebody leaves an office like that, they give it a 90-day period, and after that point, they fill that position. In this case, they want to take a little bit longer with that. The mayor's office is going to be working with the city council on this. They're working on putting together a committee so they can bring in some really good candidates from all over the place. We'll see how that process goes, but instead of having this filled by March or so, this is going to be something that's going to be filled, or at least they'll start the interviews, it sounds like, on May 27th. So this is going to be into the summer that we're going to hear about this. And
let me jump in here.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about OP. Listen.
Yeah.
If all the mayor and the city council are gonna do is appoint somebody else to be a fall guy to be ran over by this truck called the SPOG contract, which is actually dictates how almost everything here with law enforcement is ran. People don't understand the fundamental policy, besides people taking 14 months to get back and close cases and all these other kinds of things. The bigger issue here, it is SPOG is running the show. And what needs to happen is Mayor Ferrell needs to just boss up in the city council, and they need to demand that, yes, Seattle police officers need a fair contract, but the citizen stakeholders of the city of Seattle need a fair contract as well. And as long as SPOG can sit down there and call all the strings, then you got a weak, watered-down OPA and you got a weak, watered-down OIG. The OPA was supposed to have subpoena power and all kinds of things, but it was negotiated out the contract in the SPOG contract. So I'm not going for the song and dance that's coming out of City Hall. Like, ooh, we're going to get a new OPA director. It's going to be okay. Until they make a change of policy in the relationship and the contract with SPOG, we're not going to see nothing different here.
You're right on with that, Omari, and I think a lot of people who were critical of that office over the last 4 years were really critical of the approach that Andrew Meyerberg took. He's an attorney. He really took that kind of very careful and just a very careful approach to what he did. And in doing that, he wanted to make sure that the discipline he was issuing out there stuck. So he's like, well, is this going to go against the contract or whatever else? Can we actually get this to stick? So the amount of actual discipline that was handed out, at least from the OPA's office, went down during his term of 4 years. So it's going to be very interesting to see who they choose there. Keep going. Yeah.
It's also got to be a respected position, though, because Meyerberg sent almost 100 recommendations over there to the SPD, over there between Chief Best and Chief Diaz. It's up to the Seattle Police Department if they take up the recommendations. That'll tell you now, what Meyerberg did do in his office would be like, man, this is a bad policy. Policy might want to change. Sent it over to SPD, and, just kind of like a lot of things, goes there to die. So
Yeah. No, and that's an important part of this. The OPA, that new director is going to be a big role also in looking what the mayor said last week. He says he's going to have that list of police chief candidates by the end of this month. So we're talking about two really big positions there when it comes to the SPD that the mayor is talking about here, that the city council is talking about here. It's a big, big change for the city of Seattle, and we're going to see some big movement on that in the next couple of months for sure.
Well, this is something obviously it's going to hit a button over here because we've been
Yep.
on it, Brian. What else do you guys have going on tonight on Seattle News, Views, and Brews?
Well, we're talking about this Operation New Day as well. You remember that press conference? Omari was there just last week. This is the plan by the mayor, by the SPD, and by a number of other law enforcement agencies like the DEA and the Department of Justice, et cetera, the city attorney's office, to clean up, as they say, different areas. They've been talking about 12th and Jackson. They did some work up there in Little Saigon. They've been talking about the Blade, the neighborhood there on 3rd Avenue in downtown Seattle, trying to clean up some of that too. I was very interested about this because the chief and the mayor are talking about this, but we're going to hear from the chief here in just a second. The chief was saying, hey, this isn't something that the Seattle Police Department is going to be able to do all by itself. Let's listen.
The clip. Mm-hmm.
It may take many months, but the one thing is certain. It cannot be done by SPD alone. We need help of all city departments, our federal law enforcement partners, the King County Sheriff's Office, Metro Police, the courts, and the jail. We need the support of our community. We all have a lot of work to do. Let's do it right, and let's do it together.
Okay, hold on. I just want to say something about this because obviously, like I said when we were talking about this, I drive by 12th and Jackson almost every single day, and I have literally seen a cleanup of the streets. But my question always goes to, where are these people going? When we talk about sweeps, we were just talking about that. We have to also understand and identify the resources for these people on the back end. Just simply cleaning up the streets is not getting rid of the problem, Brian.
No, it's not, and I think that's a very important part of this. I brought up that part of about what the chief was saying. We all need to work together, whatever else the community needs to work together, because at that press conference, it was very notable that it was all law enforcement there. There were none of the social service agencies.
Yeah, he
were
had
involved.
the feds up in there.
Yeah.
They had the feds up in there talking about community need to work together. But what community wasn't represented in the press conference?
Yeah. And that's a huge part of it. And I think about this too, and we bring it up on our podcast tonight. You know, who is going to actually support Operation New Day from the social service side of things? And I know you guys have talked to Choose 180, Sean Good, and I'm really wondering what some of these different social service agencies are saying about that. Are you guys getting any feedback from Sean or anybody like that about what the mayor's saying here with this Operation New Day?
Man, well, the feedback we got was from the boss himself over there, the chief executive of our city, and he said he's not naming nobody, and he's going to do inventory over everybody, and then after he does inventory, he's going to let us know who the top guns over there, because I said, hey, you got the top guns in law enforcement right here. Where's the top guns in social services? Right. So he said he's going to get back to us on it. I haven't talked to any of a lot of the groups that we're in touch with, but you know, the mayor said he's taking inventory. So,
which is interesting. And
I haven't.
Have you heard, Trey? Yeah, I just wonder who's on that list, because it really gets back to what you're talking about, Trey, which is when these things happen, where do these different where does the criminal activity move to? And with 3rd Avenue, we're talking about a problem that has been there for years. And I'm talking about decades here, that area that's called the Blade there. And this is something that a lot of different people have been talking about. Do you need to do this kind of situation where you clean up things quickly and then bring social services in, which is what the mayor is talking about? Unfortunately, that just has not worked over the past several years. I remember the 9.5 block situation, or the 9.5 blocks program that that Mayor Murray put back in place in 2015. Very similar deal, just around the corner from where we're talking about here on 3rd Ave. So I'm not quite sure what this is going to do. I know this is something that mayors like to do when they first step into office to show some progress or whatever, but this is a pretty concerning issue.
So the thing is, Brian, is there's 2 levels of criminality, right? And the high level of criminality here, which is happening, is this pipeline of fentanyl from Mexico and from other places here into our streets and across King County. And my understanding is that police, along with the county, along with the feds, are really their number one priority is disrupting this fentanyl pipeline that's coming in here, right? And so the criminal activity on the high level, maybe with the DEA and things like that, and cartels and everything else, to the dealer level here on the streets, right? So that's one level of criminality right there, which I believe that they were trying to address there at the press conference.
Right.
The other level of criminality, a lot of that is driven by addiction addiction to fentanyl. Like people are going and stealing stuff, and the shoplifting, the crime. I mean, you see some of these little set up markets over there and everything else.
Right.
Those are now symptoms of abuse, symptoms of addiction. Is still criminal, and it's criminal offenses that are occurring. And so I think the question here in not only in our community but in a broader sense as well is how criminalized or will the criminal activity of those who are addicted be in Operation New Day?
I think that's super important. And I don't want to downplay what happened at that press conference last week. That is important to have that coordination between federal, state, and local officials there. That's critical, actually. That needs to happen from that criminal justice side of things. But I think you'll hear it from just about everybody on this. You can't arrest your way out of this problem. So the fact that that other piece, that social service piece, wasn't involved in that press conference from the jump, I'm a little concerned about that too, because who makes that list of special people who are able to be those social service providers that are going to be able to help out here? I'm not quite sure who that's going to be, and I'm really interested to hear it, because the tactics that the mayor is using right now and the police chief is using right now don't really fit in with the way that the city has tried to approach these problems in the past in a more holistic kind of way.
Well, clearly these issues have a lot of different layers, Brian, and you guys are always on the money. What else you guys got coming up for us? Because I know you guys really cover a lot of different topics on Seattle News, Views, and Brews.
Yeah, we're trying to cover a lot of ground on tonight's show here, Trey, and we're talking about the end of the legislative session, which is the 10th. I mean, we're talking about right around the corner tomorrow here, and a lot of things are going to be changing in between now and then, but one of the big pieces we're keeping an eye on is the transportation budget, a $16.8 billion package. Democrats had a plan for a little while to throw a gas tax in there. That wasn't very popular. It would have affected surrounding states here, so they're pulling that out. So trying to figure out how they're going to plug that hole budgetarily is going to be very interesting there. We're also talking about a few different things with the police reform measures that were put in place last session, how they're going to tweak those such that they can really get the buy-in they need to from police department agencies around the state. And we're also talking about, this is something very interesting I'm talking about on Seattle Channel 2 this week, missing and murdered Indigenous people. This is something that is super interesting, and we're going to be seeing later on this summer, as a matter of fact, a situation where there's going to be a system in place, kind of like Amber Alerts, that actually have it up on the freeway signs and whatever else, when we will hear about these different missing Indigenous people who police are looking for. They're really trying to ramp that up because these cases are rampant throughout the country. Most of the cases, in terms of where we see the most cases, are happening in the Seattle metro area. So they're really trying to focus on it here. And we'll see how this happens at the state level here for Washington. It's the first state in the country that's trying this out, and it's super interesting.
Right, man. That's real interesting. You know, we had Councilmember Juarez here a few months ago, and it was crazy learning the history behind all of this. And Seattle is continuously number one. When you talk about missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, Indigenous people, and we're actually have something in the pipeline here. We're working with Councilmember Juarez and other Native organizations here because we want to work with them to be able to create PSAs. Like you said, they're centralizing the communications. Well, when someone comes missing, then like all of the like on this part of the state, all the reservations and everything will feed into one database. Everybody's looking out for people. So what Converge is doing is we're going to create PSAs on who's missing, but also who's found. So I can't wait to catch up with you on that. Man, listen, your show is the bomb because I think we could be sitting here all day and talking to you about this, man.
I know it.
Brian,
I know when you start raising your voice, Omar, that you're excited about it. It's good. It's good to hear.
You get me all excited. Tonight, 7:00, Seattle News, Views, and Brews. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Always, Brian, a pleasure.
All right. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Man, hot button issues.
Do a show with Brian.
Look, I know, right? No, really.
But man, it's all there. Okay, moving on. Let me bring the blood pressure down. I'm just saying. I mean, it's misleading in the city, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't understand. And the city council and mayor after mayor, man, they mislead the public. You know what I'm saying? And we get all these institutions here that are misleading to the public. The OPA and the OIG. The SPA contract is what holds all the power, but the city council and the mayor be scared of SPA. Yeah. They're scared of the police union. And like I said, the police should definitely get a fair contract, but it shouldn't be fair than the citizens, stakeholders of this city. And we'll see if the mayor and the city council actually fight for the citizens here, you know, because just putting in another OPA director who ain't got no subpoena power, who can't do this and can't do that. I mean, what is it? You see what I'm saying? Anyways, next up, man, this guy's dressed for the occasion too. Derrick Wheeler Smith, Director, Office for Civil Rights. He's dressed down a little bit today, but he knew not to come here. Last time he was in here with, I think, a Chicago hat or something. He knew to come in here with a Mariners hat today. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. And we see right there, that's our beloved break, part of the beloved campaign that's going on right now, gun violence disruption, using art, culture, history, and education to make a difference out there. Joined right now by our brand new Director for City of Seattle, Office for Civil Rights, Derrick Wheeler Smith. Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. First time as Director now.
Yes, first time as Director of the Office for Civil Rights. I, of course, was here when I worked with the county, but excited to be here with y'all this morning.
All right, good stuff. So just to preface everything for everybody, this is the Director for the Office of Civil Rights, and man, these guys do a lot, and we got a lot of questions for this guy as well. But one thing I do know for sure is, one, I know that when available, if we call you, you always come back, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So the main reason, although I do want to ask you one or two questions about participatory budgeting, because that's what's coming out now. The main reason I want to talk to you today, though, is you're in a real unique position there in the city. You're probably one of the most unique positions, considering your professional journey here and what's going on. You were the head of Zero Youth Detention over there at Public Health Seattle, King County. Main focus, one of the main focus, disrupting gun violence amongst other things in our county. And now you're in civil rights, but even though you're in civil rights, you're a brain trust kind of what you've learned and experienced. Tell us what's going on with you. I'm talking too much.
No, it's all good. I think you're framing it appropriately. There was a lot of work that we did within Zero Youth Detention, and while the focus obviously is on eliminating, this what's been known as, and I kind of hate the language, right? Because I think we frame so much from a deficit lens, but the school to prison pipeline, right? How do we interrupt this demand that this system places for bodies? And that typically is Black and brown bodies. So one of the things that consistently kept showing up when we were looking at the amount of young people that were locked up over on East Alder was this connection to violence. And so it felt like the elephant in the room was we weren't having a conversation about how we have a cultural addiction to addressing violence through prison. right? And not really looking at some of the root causes and challenges. And consistently, it would be like 23, 24 young people locked up, and 90% of them would have something to do with the gun or something to do with violence. And so it really felt like there needed to be a broader framing of a conversation that I didn't just want to be about gun violence alone. It's why we named it the Community Safety and Well-Being Plan. That was very intentional because too often in our community, and when I say our community, I'm speaking as a Black man, and when I think about our community, too often I think we are, there's oftentimes this framing that happens from a deficit lens. And so it's typically we're defined by our worst threat, if you will. And by being defined by our worst threat, it creates this, what I would call denigration for dollars, right? And so that denigration for dollars means that there's resources that are attached, and too often it's through this deficit frame, which then causes our community, because of the way these RFPs and things are written, to write ourselves in the public consciousness, right, as inferior, as incapable, and all of these other things. And so it's this vicious cycle, right, that we can't seem to break out of. And part of it is because the things that we interrupt or that we want to take down or that we're antithetical to are not as powerful as us thinking about what are the things that we have to create that actually heal us.
Wow. Hey, so one, amen. Two, let me tell you, is I had an interesting conversation yesterday, actually with some people from the county, very well intending, and they were like, man, well, what can we do better? I said, stop funding mediocrity. You know what I'm saying? I said, there's so much money that goes into mediocrity. Where's the money in that, the holding us to a higher standard, to investing in our greatness and to investing in everything else? You know what I'm saying? And you're right. All these dollars are attached to the worst possible outcome, the worst possible situation and everything else. And then you find, you know, like, man, we're braving a storm over here. And I mean, thanks to our supporters and people who support Converge, because we'd be somebody who would fall victim to mission creep as well. Like, our number one thing is uplifting, you know, Black business, Black stories, Black, you know, very positive, whatever, right? But there's a lot of money if we took our cameras and showed on screen what's the worst in our community. You know, you get what I'm saying?
I do. And that is part of the cycle that has to be broken. And, you know, for a long time, I think it felt like, you know, the most important thing in reference to social change was, you know, having strong racial equity plans and coalition building and power building. And I'm not knocking all those things. I think those things are important. But I think what I've come to discover is that the most important thing is really, what are the systems and things that we have in place that help us to heal? Right? To heal from racism, to heal from sexism, to heal from poverty. Otherwise, I think we find ourselves disconsciously going from thinking to doing and duplicating much of what we've already done. And for us, oftentimes we're constantly in a state of struggle and fight. And so the focus is always on right? It's anti-racism. And so we're very clear about what it is that we disagree with. My question is, what are we building? What are we creating that heals us? And so that whole regional community safety and well-being plan, it was not about just getting rid of gun violence. It was about how are we building and creating a community of peace, right? And a place of peace and wholeness and wellness for our kids.
Right. And actually because we put that ZYD commercial together, and the ZYD commercial said, how can we build better communities? How can we build, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why when you're saying that language, this one thing, ladies and gentlemen, with Derrick Wheeler Smith is it's refreshing to your ears, because we're so used to things in our community being framed in their vernacular. And every time Derrick's around, you know what I'm saying? It's the remix, it's the reframe of it. And it's much appreciated, brother. And I'm glad that somebody like you with your perspective is out there on the front line of it, man. Now, when Beloved was which is in motion now, and I think they got an activation tomorrow and Friday and some other stuff happening. What drew you in to the Beloved campaign?
Yeah, I think there were a couple of things. I think the initial thing for me was the connection in terms of where my mind immediately went. Like, I don't think you can use that word or talk about Beloved without thinking about MLK, right? Who really kind of framed, right, that vernacular in creating this idea of what it meant to create a beloved community. So when I first heard it, it resonated with me in that way. And that was immediately where my mind went. And for several reasons. One, I don't think that you can actually serve people that you don't love, right? Otherwise, you're going to find yourself creating things that benefit you more than they do the people that you're called to serve, right? And so how does the frame shift in a way where the focus is really about how are we creating a beloved community? Man, I had this opportunity to go on this powerful civil rights experience that literally started in the cradle of slavery in terms of, Black folks coming in off of ships in Birmingham, Alabama. It was a 7-city trip over 9 days, and we ended in Ferguson. And I had the opportunity to spend some time with some of our incredible elders, brilliant minds. And I'll never forget one night we were chopping it up with Charles McFerrin, who was the right hand of Fannie Lou Hamer, right? And someone asked Charles about this idea and this notion of anti-violence, right? And what it meant to kind of have the tactic of anti-violence. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, anti-violence isn't a tactic. He said, we were just modeling what it was that we wanted to be and who we wanted to become, because we saw Black bodies hanging from trees. We knew the impact that hatred had on humanity. And so we were just modeling what we wanted to be. And when I think about Beloved, I think it's an opportunity, right? One, to educate, because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. I talked about how there's this framing that I think creates this pathological lens that has us in this vicious cycle that we have to break out of. But I think it's about this way of being, that says, what does it mean to create a beloved community? And so what resonated for me was, it was about a framing that I think moved us out of this deficit thinking, where it becomes about disparity for dollars, right? And into a different envisioning of what's possible. What are the ennobling possibilities? What are the things that we can create that actually heal us? And the power, I think, sits, right in there, right? Like right in that pocket. But we typically don't have time to sit and think about the things that heal us, because nobody's talking about healing. And I think that's a huge step that we continue to skip in this process.
Their healing has been skipped, and that open wound becomes generational if it's not healed. There's people right now watching this show, watching this live stream, who are not healed. Families not healed, individuals not healed, community not healed. And man, it's good to hear you say that. And because a lot of the conversation, going back to this conversation again I had yesterday with the county, I was like, man, you guys want to throw money at everything, but you don't want to change no policies. You don't want to change, you don't want to change the actual systems. And a lot of times systems need to literally be changed. It's like, oh, well, man, we're going to throw some money at this. That's going to make it okay. It's going to make it whatever. I'm like, man, that's not transformational. And a lot of times we see, we see in here, it's buddy from the last mayor goes somewhere else this time. And, maybe it's here, maybe it's not. We want to look for things that can fundamentally change in our community. Where do you see, I know you've transitioned over to the city now, but where do you see this trajectory? You invested a lot of time and energy and years, and you got so many great relationships from the street level all the way up to mayor's offices and the county executive. Where do you see this thing going?
Well, I think that where we're going and where we really need to intentionally be going is, one, I think it goes back to something that you just said. And one of the things that kind of resonated with me in hearing you talk about that is, I think most often the question that's asked, right? And it's the question that I get asked, especially coming into new spaces, new director, right? There's all this excitement and there's a level of kind of anxiety because it's, so what's the plan? What are you going to do? And I think we quickly move into what are we going to do, which I think perpetuates that disconsciousness that I said, where we go from thinking to doing. I think that's an important question, but I think there's a more important question that precedes that. And I think that question is, who is it that we need to become? Who is it that we need to become so that we can do what hasn't been able to happen before, right? Because most of the things that we see that are a manifestation in our community, we can trace all of this stuff to racist policies. So we shouldn't be surprised when we get racist outcomes. And so part of this has to really center in, how are we actually leading from our values? And I think most often in systems, we have these espoused values, and then we have the lived experience of the people in community, right? And I think the work has to be in how are we closing the gap between the espoused values that we have and the lived experiences of the people in community. And our work is right there, right? Like in the middle of that. But I think that requires a different level of how can we build the muscle that allows us to be willing to hold space for each other when we disagree, so that we don't turn into what, Trey was talking about earlier, which I think is a byproduct of some of the stuff that exists because of, cancel culture, right? Where you say something that I disagree with, and my goal then at that point is to annihilate you or to make you disappear. Well, that sounds very familiar to me, because that really is the end result of the power of white supremacy when it's fully manifested. It's to annihilate you so that you no longer exist. So if we don't heal, then we begin to leverage the same tactics of the oppressor, right? And we can't talk about transformation within our communities without being willing to be transformed. So how do we hold space with each other long enough so that you and I can walk in community and in relationship? And just by virtue of our commitment to doing that, we're experiencing transformation. And in the process of experiencing transformation, we then can move to begin to transform and to heal our communities. Otherwise, to your point, I think we're going to pass on a legacy of continued trauma, right? How do we pass on a legacy, man, of healing to the next generation that isn't grappling with some of the same things? And I think that requires us to have a vision of healing and recognizing that we might not get to a point where you and I get to experience it, or maybe even the next generation. It makes me think about folks over in Europe, man, building those beautiful cathedrals that it took 250 years to make. How many generations of people built something that they knew they would never have the opportunity themselves to experience, but it was about the next generation? But we're so selfish that it's really about what's going to set me up for my next promotion, what's going to set me up to give me access to power, right? It becomes about all of these things that I think are deeply connected and tied to what I call the seduction of whiteness, right? And I'm not talking about a property of skin. I'm talking more about a system that, implements its ways of thinking and being in both implicit and explicit ways, right? So how do we move away from some of these things historically that have harmed us? And our focus isn't so much on anti and what we're against, but it's on what are we building and what are we creating and where's the legacy in that in terms of what we're passing to the next generation.
Man, Derrick, I'll say this, bro, that we're going to leave this here because we're going to follow up on this other stuff another time. This message in this space right now is important. You know what I'm saying? And it's important that people grasp like what you're talking about here. And I want to tell you that we appreciate your work. We appreciate that you've been consistent in community. Irregardless, you show up. And man, you're always willing to take on the tough thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of times, it's easy to kind of show up around whatever. But when it's tough, and when you are on the other side of an argument, and when it's not always easy. Just want to acknowledge that, man. And please continue. One, come here, but two, please, man, be visible in this space. I know you're in civil rights. Community needs you. People need to hear from you.
Thank you, for saying that. That warms my heart. I have found myself since coming into the role of actually working in government in what I would call kind of this space of the radical middle. And I call it the radical middle because anytime you are disrupting and interrupting systemic oppression and you're working inside of the system, I'm not system enough for the system, right? Like there are people that aren't always happy, right, to see me or to have conversations or to engage, even though I'm committed to engaging in ways that ensures that we continue to come back to the table, right, to work through things. But then there's a level of skepticism, right, from the community, because I think what we've watched and witnessed over time has been the loss of what I would call some of our, brilliant minds, brilliant leaders, people from community who then go and work in the system. And then over time, maybe they start advocating more for the system than they do for the community that they're called to serve. They get institutionalized, right? And so I think my commitment is to stay grounded and to keep a level of proximity. I don't think you can understand things from a distance. And so I have to stay grounded. I have to stay rooted. I have to stay accountable. And those are the things that are important to me, and it matters to me.
I think one thing for sure, and we're going to put you in the hot seat next time you're here, because this participatory budgeting, that's what we're supposed to do, is follow up on everything. We want to know where that's going. But one thing I know for sure is that, man, you're here to serve our community because I know you love our community. And you said you can't serve people that you don't love. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right now. We come back. Trey Holiday is going to catch up with Money Mike Davis, reporter from, there he is, South Seattle Emerald. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
In the depths of Belize, the travelers come across the waters, harvesting with their hands, learning of resilience rooted deep in the lands. Culture thriving like a fire ablaze, sizzling with a pop and a chop, sharing its ways. Knowledge simmers and grinds into the hearts and minds, cutting away from the surface stories and colonial lies, boiling it down, breaking its shell as the truth pours out and gets plated collectively with love. Spooned into bowls, feeding the soul. Garifuna, alive and strong at Palmetto Grove.
Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear. Welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co-host, Trey Holiday, and boy, oh boy, was that a phenomenal interview. Can't wait to wrap it up with, at the end of the show. But you guys know we got to hear from our guy, Mike Davis. What's up, Mike? Muted again.
Yo, I'm sorry, man. Trey, I'm happy to be here.
That's your intro at this point, Mike. We're just going to be, you're going to do that every week, and we're going to be like muted again, and we're going to get right into it. All good. How are you today, my brother?
I'm good. And man, that's somebody in the back, man. They're muting me. I unmute and then I remute. But can I just say something before we jump in? I don't see right now, but I just got to say, I was watching on the Seattle channel when the mayor was there. He had the whole super team of folks that are addressing public safety. And I just got to give a shout out to all. They were having that whole public safety conversation as if the folks that are downtown are not members of the public, as if they're not real people, real Seattleites who've been here. And, O was the one that had to jump in and bring the question to show that we're talking about actual humans. We're talking about actual people. And if you go there and talk to people, man, not everybody there is a statistic. Not everybody there is a criminal. Not everybody there is unhoused, man. These are just people that live here. And downtown has always been a place for us to congregate. Downtown has always been a place for us to kick it. So to portray everybody that just happens to be hanging out down there as something other than people who are enjoying a spot of community, I got to commend O for bringing it back to that and bringing that humanistic piece back to the conversation.
I agree with you 100%, Mike. And we talk about this all the time because as real Seattleites being, here, growing up here, everything, we see it differently. We're talking about people that we grew up with. I hit those blocks, and oftentimes I'm seeing somebody, I'm like, what's up, bro, man? How you doing? How's your family? That's the truth. We're talking about community members. And so I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is exactly why our perspectives need to be in media, right? Because if we leave it up to a lot of major media channels, unfortunately, they bring a lot of reporters here who are not connected to the streets. They're not connected to communities in the ways that we are. That's why it's so important that we have Black media like Converge, like South Seattle Emerald. We need to be able to ensure our perspectives are permeating that media space. So what do you have coming up this week? Because you guys are always on top of these things, man. Tell us a little bit about what's going on Clapback this week.
Oh yeah, we got a full show for y'all, but we got something special this week, and I got to be careful because I don't know exactly what I can and can't say. But for Women's History Month, Julia has something special. She's bringing in women. Dang, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say who they are and what they do. I know Julia will be there tomorrow, but there's going to be a special segment for the rest of our shows this month where Julia is sitting down with women and they're having conversations around Women's History Month. So please tune in for that. That's going to be dope. As the show progresses, of course, we got to talk about the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is gone. Bobby Wagner is gone. That's going to be a big blow to our city. We got to jump on Joe Biden. We're talking about the Russian oil and natural gas, all of those imports, pulled the plug on all of that. What's that going to mean for us here in America? I think we're already seeing what's going on with gas prices. We're going to talk about the WNBA. One of their stars, Brittany Griner, is actually being detained on drug trafficking charges in Russia for getting caught with like a vape pen and some weed oil, which is ridiculous. And then, we got to dive into Ukraine, and, we got to talk about the Africans and the Indians in Ukraine who are facing a lot of hostility and violence as they are trying to flee all the conflict that's going on over there. We see all the images of the Ukrainians and all of the countries around that have rallied around them as refugees. But what about the Africans? What about the Indians? What about the people of color? And we're going to talk about what they're facing as they're trying to get out of Ukraine.
You know what? I just appreciate that you guys are always on these hot topics because, there's a lot of stuff that we see in social media. And unfortunately, right now, a lot of people get their news strictly from social media, right? And so the idea is that there needs to be deeper discussions around a lot of these kind of hot button issues. We see these kind of, surface level topics. We don't see enough in-depth media coverage on social media. And so I love that you guys are really tackling these topics. And, honestly, of course, as a Black woman myself, I'm always celebrating women. I think that, for there to be a certain month where we celebrate women, it's this intentionality. It's like, hey, we're going to be really specific in this month. But, the idea that Jules is going to be talking to women, I'm really excited for that, Mike. And I love how you uplift that. It's important. Omari said this this week that, we need to really be supporting each other. And he said us Black men need to be supporting our women. We need to make sure that their voices are at the center. Their voices are uplifted. We need to be standing really in solidarity with them. So I just love seeing that from you, brother. As always, I know you guys are going to keep it clapping on Clapback coming up this Thursday. Just let folks know how they can get in touch with you, you and Jules, and you as well, just yourself.
Yes. Well, you can find me everywhere you find the South Seattle Emerald. You'll find me, the Clapback Culture. We are on Instagram. I believe it is Clapback Culture. You can find us. We're there. Julia is Treasurer Jules. You can find her. I'm here every Wednesday. And then Thursday night, 7 p.m., Clapback Culture. Please tune in.
Oh, you got it, Mike. Thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate you, man. We'll see you soon. We'll see you then tomorrow night.
All right. Have a good one, Trey.
Right on. Oh, man. Oh, what an amazing show today. Yeah, Money Mike. Man, come on, man. Our brother Derrick Wheeler-Smith, man, bringing it home today. He just came with that golden hammer.
Yeah, I told Derrick, I'm like, I'm investing. Like I said, we got time to be able to talk to him about these other administrative things over there in the Office of Civil Rights. But man, that's a message I think community need to hear. And community it's so simple, but it's profound.
Yeah.
But you can't be in service of people you don't love, man. You know what I'm saying? And we think about it. It's funny because look how a lot of resources and different things reach us, and it's always fed to us or given to us or presented to us from people who don't love us.
Oh, this message resonates with me so much. Just yesterday, we were talking about it in terms of House Bill 1827, but ultimately, I literally said, we need people who are moving in love. If you love the community you're serving, doesn't matter what color they are, what creed, nationality, whatever, but when you're moving in love, it really changes the game. And he just, man, he hit the nail on the head there when he was talking about people who take certain positions because they're trying to build up their careers. We've talked about this in the political sphere, in our elected officials many times here on the Morning Update show. It just is great and refreshing to hear it coming from him and him seeing it in his perspective. It was just really an amazing interview all around. And I love that he's bringing that passion and that commitment to the Office of Civil Rights.
Yeah. I mean, we need more people, visible people, because there are a lot of people. It's 11,000 employees in the city of Seattle.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that bring the commitment and intentionality of a Derrick Wheeler Smith. They're not on the director level. They're, not vocal, but man, they're making it happen. But it would be refreshing to have more public facing people in the city of Seattle and decision makers and department heads, man, who really have that kind of perspective that's out there. We've gone a little overtime because we went long with Derrick, but it was well worth it.
Yeah.
A few things here, of course, tonight, 7:00, Seattle News, Views and Brews. And I mean, this has been a great show all the way around because, Brian Callahan, he got it popping here from the beginning. And then also tonight, me and Besa, we're going to go see Blue over at the Seattle Opera. I know you already saw Blue. And of course, Anthony and Marley Love, Traveling While Black in Seattle, they already saw Blue as well. So we're going to go see Blue there. This is something you people saw the commercial that it's in there. It played earlier though. But Alvin Ailey Dance. Do you have an overlay for Alvin Ailey over there? There it is. Alvin Ailey coming to the Paramount, the March 26th and 27th. Tickets are available now. You over here all smiling, just looking like, oh yeah, this is something I'm definitely going to, huh?
Oh, come on, man. Alvin Ailey is such a staple in the dance community, but really in the Black dance community. It's been such an amazing example of the top echelon of dancers, what they aspire to be, what they aspire to work on is something like working with the Alvin Ailey troupe. So honestly, I gotta go to that one. Oh, it's a must.
Trey, you go to all of them.
Yes.
Where'd you go last night?
Last night, yeah, we'll have a recap for everybody this week. Later on, I went to the band's visit at Paramount Theater. It was a great show, and I took my 16-year-old, okay? And I was like, look, this is a musical. And literally at the end, my son was like, Mom, that was pretty dope. I mean, he really enjoyed it. So it was great music, great musicianship, because they really do have people that are playing instruments. And when I tell you, they get down. Oh, they get down. It was a great show.
All right. Triana said they get down. So that means they get down. Tomorrow, it's a big day here. Tomorrow we got Tash Haynes. I'm going to put this up. Tash is a content creator and blogger. And I mean, you guys might have seen, we were reposting a lot of Tash's stuff. Her and the whole family, her husband and kids, they went on a civil rights tour down south. You went down south. Yeah, they partnered up with Alaska Airlines. Flew down there and visited quite a few places and locations. And so Tash is going to come here tomorrow and talk about her experience there on the Civil Rights Tour.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. And hey, now every time is a time to be hearing about civil rights. And I'm excited to hear how her kids responded to it.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Trey Holiday, looks like we're 2 minutes over time. Any last words before we get out of here?
Oh, Derrick Wheeler Smith just inspired me so much today. You guys be inspired. See yourself as a part of the solution, no matter what it is that you think is important in this world. If you're not utilizing your voice to help further those efforts, you're doing our whole society a disservice. So be inspired and see yourself as a part of the solution out there.
Yeah, good stuff. We're going to fool around with this news desk.
Yeah.
What do you think about using the news desk?
I love the news desk.
I love the news desk too, because until we get some new set furniture, news desk is the joy. It's a blessing, though. Again, say thank you to all of our supporters out there. It's a blessing to be able to be like, we're going to use the wall, we're going to use the news desk, we're going to stand up over here. Everything. We might be using the news desk. Anyways, all that being said, again, tonight, 7 o'clock, Seattle News, Views, and Brews. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, is Clapback Culture. And then after that, 9 o'clock tomorrow night, the Factors are back after their birthday weekend. They're back on air. Man, as usual, we're going to leave you with some hope by Shayna Shepherd. Want to remind you, go forward in your purpose, go forward in your humanity. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace.
What do I see through a lens of fear? 1,000 little steps to go. What do I fear after all these years? Lord knows I don't even know. I've been running on the edge of a sundial, sleeping in the shadow. I've been begging you to see me, then hiding beyond the unreachable. Looking out left on a right-hand turn, just trying to make a deal. A lazy shoes and love is a love that turn. That's the kind of food that heals. I've been searching for the end of an era, waiting to be ready. The world is bigger than a moment. Be steady, that's how you can feel it's real. But I feel naked in my new clothes, 'cause I got used to hide.